So the Kentucky Hemp lectures, carrying on. There's a CBD bill in Kentucky and Frankfurt that passed, which allows patients access to Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web is high in CBD, low in THC. Still got THC in it, so you didn't stop THC from coming into Kentucky because Charlotte's Web oil has THC in it. But it makes it easier for the states to pass it because, well, you know why. Bible Belt Christians care more about whether the patient will get high on weed than actually cure patients of horrible, crippling diseases. It's clearly dishonest. It limits the medical uses for marijuana to millions to only a few. So, you know, you might let millions die while saving one or two. If you really cared about the people, you wouldn't let the millions die. CBD without enough THC is often ineffective for many seizure patients. Some people with epilepsy succeed on high CBD oil, like Charlotte Fiji, which was a girl on Sanjay Gupta, CNN's medical sort of marijuana. I think he's a health specialist for CNN, and he changed his mind on it because he was against it for a long time, and then boom, just all of a sudden became a huge advocate for pot. So some people with epilepsy like Charlotte actually succeed on it, but others succeed on oil with higher THC. CBD has also been known to help with psychosis. So that's good for psychosis. So there's actually a correlation between marijuana and psychosis because they say that people, they don't know if there's a causation, right, or a correlation. They say that people with psychosis are more likely to seek weed, so therefore, you know, to medicate themselves. So that's why there's a correlation. Not necessarily one causes the other, but this is saying the CBDs actually help with psychosis, and CBD could also be CBC. They don't know which one is which. They don't know if CBDs are CBCs or CBCs or CBDs. So we got to study all these cannabinoids. You can't just be CBDs. It's got to be all of them. There's 66 active substances in marijuana. You're just going to legalize one of them? You're just going to allow one of them to be provided for medical use? There's 6 of them. There's a top 6 that we should at least check out: THC, CBD, CBC, CBL, THV, and CBN, and CBG. We should be checking out all these. Really all of the above, right? Any of them that might have the potential to cure cancer, let's legalize that one. And THC has a very strong chance of curing cancer. And so let's legalize that one. Cannabinoids are naturally occurring in the body. We have cannabinoids in our body, right? Anandamide and the 2-AGs. So we got 2-AGs and anandamides just pumping all over the place, you know, just hitting our cannabinoid receptors, CB1 and CB2, whenever they feel like it. So we have a cannabinoid, the endocannabinoid system, for a reason, because God wanted marijuana and man to be one. That's why God did it. Okay, so studies have proven that cannabis safety and effectively treats seizures with minimal... I'm going to say something, actually. If I die, don't pray for me, okay? That's not doing anything. If you want to do something for me, help, you know, talk good about me, keep my memory alive, get my history out there, make sure people understand what I was about, what I was, you know, talk about my legacy, you know what I mean? Like, never let me die. Never let me die if you love me. As long as you love me, right? So, yeah, don't pray for me. If anybody actually talks about, hey, I'm praying for you, sorry about your loss, I'm praying for you, tell them, fuck you. That's what, you know, this is Johnny Master's message. You said you cared about him, but then all you're doing is praying. Get off your ass and do something about it. Tell me that you wrote a story. Hey, I wrote a story, I wrote a poem, you know, I done something for him. If you just say you're praying for me, you're just saying that you want me to care, that you're thinking about it, and that you care, but that's not enough. That you should have done more in life, okay, than just that, but that's the very least a person could do, and it's very lazy, okay? So I want action. No prayers, I want action. That's what I want, okay? So anybody says, hey, sorry about your loss, I'm praying for you, just tell, if a person doesn't say go fuck yourself, they were never my friend to begin with, okay? So studies have proven that cannabis safely and effectively treats seizures with minimal side effects. The fact is apparent, but the picture being painted by limited and vague CBD-only bills betrays the science behind cannabis medicine. Many more people are being treated for seizures outside the realm of caring. So this is a corporation that's selling Charlotte's Web. It's Realm of Caring, and they're the only ones that got this, you know, you can only get like Tora Bora, Harlequin, and Canatonic. those are the 3 strands that you can get: Tora Bora, Canatonic, and Harlequin. Okay, so there's not very many suppliers out there that have CBD only marijuana strain, so it's basically making this corporation very rich, and you're limiting the science that a person could have to cure, over 30 diseases. Over 30, it ain't just cancer, it's HIV, and it's diabetes, and it's it's like a million things. It's like 20 or 30 things. Epilepsy, that's been a big one. Some little things like anti-anxiety, anti-nausea, antidepressant. It's like an antidepressant, right? So it's like Paxil. But there's other things that like real diseases, irritable bowel syndrome. I remember that one. So IBS, it helps with IBS, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, diabetes, ADD, ADHD, and a whole bunch of other ones. So yeah. If the CD only bill would pass, those people would be left out, especially adults who have shown to need more THC. So some of them actually know what they need. And if you just pass CBD, then actually you're allowing, if anybody knows that they need THC, you're stopping them from being healed. So this bill is a fig leaf. It doesn't legalize any medicinal marijuana whatsoever. It's a step in the right direction because something got legalized. But the next step is full-blown medical marijuana, or just full-blown marijuana. Just legalize all of it. Quit playing around with this. This is, okay, you already know that. So, okay, and so most patients are finding out that seizures, they're finding that CBD alone is not effective. In fact, there are cases of CBD without THC exacerbating seizure disorders. So CBD is actually making it worse for people, right? They're exacerbating seizure disorders, especially during the times of illness, stress, medication, and hormonal changes. As a child grows, so does their need for THC. If a CBD only bill would pass, those people would be left out, especially adults who have shown the need, right? So they've already passed it, so now anybody who needs any of the other 65 active substances from cannabis has been blocked from actually getting their treatment. So you legalize one so you can make 65 active compounds illegal, okay? So you didn't legalize medical marijuana. Kentucky cannot brag about, I was all happy about it, but no more I look into this, it's all bull, okay? It's all bullshit, okay? This was a Julie Denton Republican co-option type plan that stopped the medical marijuana industry or lobbyists from actually getting their ways, and that's ridiculous. So I'm a little bit mad about it, but anyways, carrying on. In Canada, was Charlotte's Web, which is named after little Charlotte Fiji from the Sanjay Gupta CNN news special on marijuana called Weed. It didn't exist because only Realm of Caring possesses it. Patients are just seeing as much success using extracts from widely available strains such as Tora Bora, Harlequin, Canatonic. Patients are using high-dose THC oils and suppositories as rescue medications to stop seizures and prevent status epilepticus instead of the traditional deadly benzodiazepines, diazepam, lorazepam, and midazolam. So the benzodiazepines, I don't know, somehow those are like worse, okay? They're deadly. You could die off of these things, so if you don't allow them to use medical marijuana, then they could die, right? So they're using their oils and suppositories as a rescue medication away from the other stuff they're actually using, right? So it's like, okay, this is what modern science tells me to use, but I'll have this rescue medication here just in case. Okay, so marijuana is better at curing the thing, seizures, and epilepsy, than the actual traditional medicines, which could kill them. And not only could it cure it better, but it also serves as a savior drug from when that medicine. It's sort of like chemotherapy in a way. Chemotherapy will absolutely kill you, but if you take some of the medicinal effects afterwards, anti-nausea, appetite stimulant, gives you a garden, makes you happy to raise a plant. These are all good things that it provides for you once you go through the horrible thing that is called chemotherapy, where they pump all this radiation and chemical, like the chemotherapy, so they kill all these cells, they kill most of your cells, and then your body has to regenerate it all back, because that's how they kill the cancer. Kill the whole body, right? Kill the whole body, maybe you might kill the cancer. Whereas medical marijuana will find out the CB2 receptor and just tell the cancer cell to die. It just reminds it to do what it's supposed to be doing. And there is a CB2 receptor. It's on our immune system and our blood regeneration system, and there's whatever cannabinoids can accept the CB2 receptor are the things that we should be sending, especially if it cures cancer, right? I don't think it's made in our own body, so that we need other cannabinoid receptors that goes to the CB2 receptor and tells it to die. So Piers Morgan aired a Dr. Sanjay Gupta demonstration with a patient with myoclonus diaphragmatic flutter. The guy was like hiccuping and doing the and had like this stuff on the stomach, and it just kept on basically involuntarily like just kind of fluttering. So like he couldn't help it, and it made him sick, and he couldn't operate. I couldn't imagine having something like that. It would be like it'd be like just having Parkinson's or something, but even worse, gotta like have a Parkinson's for your lungs, right? And so it would just be the one of the most horrible. You couldn't. It's a pain that you couldn't get away from. It would just happen like constantly throughout the entire day, non-stop shaking. But he aired a demonstration, and in less than a minute, marijuana cured the myoclonus diaphragmatic flutter. It stopped it. It cured it. The man didn't need anything else. Marijuana cures things, okay? So in less than a minute, marijuana cured the myoclonus diaphragmatic flutter in less than a minute. Oxycontin, volume didn't work. Myoclonus diaphragmatic flutter, myoclonus diaphragmatic flutter. This is what medical marijuana cures, okay? So this is a type of epilepsy. New Jersey legalized medical marijuana before Chris Christie took office, but he is not going to allow that to happen, right? So Brian Wilson infamously confronted Chris Christie about legalizing medical marijuana for his daughter, Vivian Wilson, called the dust up in the diner. Brian Wilson gathered 100 supporters together, ambushed Chris Christie when he was making campaign stops at a local diner, confronts him, gets in it, not in his face, but just is able to speak to him, is like, don't let my daughter die. Don't let my daughter die, Chris Christie. And then even though he was against medical marijuana, he had to let Vivian Wilson live, so he did change the law so she could get her medicine. But then there was doctors that wouldn't allow, that wouldn't be writing the prescription. So eventually they had to go into Colorado anyways. So fuck you, Chris Christie. He stopped, basically anybody else from getting the medical marijuana. He didn't even save Vivian Wilson. He didn't even help. So, no, yes, that's exactly what Chris Christie, he's such a big dickhead. He's such a pro-war on the drugs type of oppressor that he wants to criminalize people that aren't criminals, and he wants to allow Vivian Wilson's of New Jersey to die. Okay, so that's the opposite of Rand Paul. When it comes to Rand Paul, he is totally right, or Ron Paul is right. Rand Paul is Mitch McConnell, so he don't know what he's talking about. They did get hemp legalized, so that is in the right direction. I'm all over the place here. So, okay, Brian Wilson. Okay, so Vivian Wilson is suffering from Dravet syndrome, a severe form of epilepsy, and she was in need of high-dose edible marijuana. Megan and Brian Wilson want a change in policy for his own daughter's medication, but the change in medical marijuana policy didn't change anything overall because Chris Christie made access to medical marijuana tough to get because it would require the approval of both a psychiatrist and a physician registered by a state medical marijuana panel before any treatment could be made. So while Christie legalized the edible form of marijuana that would help Vivian Wilson's Dravet syndrome, a severe form of epilepsy, Megan and Brian Wilson couldn't get their doctors to prescribe it because they're conservative in their prescriptions and they're waiting for science to prove to them 100% that it would actually work. Chris Christie allowed edible form of marijuana in the tablet or lozenge form only for minors, only for children, which only gives the permission to parents of children, not to any adult themselves. Only kids can get this. So very tricky legalization, legal wrangling, legalese to be able to help these people, but to help nobody else. So it makes a ton of headaches and heartache for parents to go shopping for doctors who understand anything about medical marijuana to get them to sign up for this. For parents who are already going through a lot of trouble just with what their children's ailments are, they now have to go through this extra stuff you don't have to go through for any other medical condition, for any other medication. For the Wilson family, Garine Angel, company president of Magical Butter, a closed system appliance for making marijuana butters and oils, and his friend Dew and Lisa Braun from Florida donated $10,000 so the Wilsons could move to Colorado. Josh Stanley, his 5 brothers, are making millions in Colorado because they're selling medical marijuana, including Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web is named after Charlotte Fiji, the girl Dr. Sanjay Gupta marijuana showed on national television being cured of her ailments. Charlotte's Web is high in cannabidiol, CBD, and low in THC. According to Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CBDs help with chronic pain, lupus, Crohn's disease, and epilepsy. So there's 4 things that CBDs have been shown to help with. And one of those things is shaking, epilepsy. So chronic pain, lupus, Crohn's disease, and epilepsy. But recent findings have been saying that maybe CBD is actually CBC. So CBC might be the one that's actually helping things. We can all, agree that it's not CBS, right? CBS isn't helping anybody. Well, actually, I don't know. You have that old geezer is getting kicked out, and now you get the black correspondent, right? So Larry Wilmore. Oh man, that's nice. Or the David Letterman show is going to be better now that it's the Larry Wilmore show. So actually, good. I'm glad that old man is getting out of here. So good. So yeah, what I call him? Black correspondent, Larry Wilmore. Larry Wilmore. Yeah, so where am I going with this? CBD, chronic pain, lupus, Crohn's disease, epilepsy, maybe CBC. Vivian Wilson's Dravet syndrome's epilepsy is triggered whenever she sees bad visual stimulation, such as bright lights, confusing patterns. Vivian Wilson wears an eye patch because of bad visual stimulation gets her shaken and activates her Dravet syndrome's epileptic seizures. Vivian's seizure spasms and twitches happen less frequently, but they still happen. Vivian Wilson goes from 75 to 100 seizures a day to only 10 a day once she gets her marijuana. Right, marijuana is safer than many epilepsy drugs on the market. Traditional epilepsy drugs can actually kill you, shut the entire body off. Kill those they purport to help. It's virtually impossible to ever have a marijuana overdose. You would pass out and go to sleep before you would actually overdose on it. You'd have to smoke an impossible amount within a short amount of time, which wouldn't ever be possible unless they could like pack smoke into small, really, like dense blocks, and just, instead of actually smoking it, you drown on it because it's a liquid. So the side effects of marijuana is hungry, happy, sleepy. That's it. Hungry, happy, sleepy. Those are the side effects. So memorize those. Hungry, happy, sleepy. So that's for anybody that's never tried marijuana. Those are the side effects. So that's because Julie Denton doesn't want people to be to induce their hunger, to be happy, or to induce sleepiness. That's why she's keeping marijuana illegal and only legalizing the CBD to block any of the other things, including THC, because somebody might get high off of it. That's why the GOP and lots of state legislators all around the world is doing this. Think about taking a break, maybe. Teresa Gripsover died of colon cancer. That's my grandmother. Cannabinoids may have protected against the inflammation of the colon. It can shrink cancer tumors. She died of colon cancer. Buds, right? The buds, the flower buds is where you have all the medicinal, all these cannabinoids. 60 to 85 cannabinoids are in the buds. Every extract has all the cannabinoids. So every time you pull anything, it's all 60 to 85. That's a lot of cannabinoids. And cannabinoids is property that are specific to only marijuana. So that's 60-something specific compounds that are specific to only just marijuana. And which one of those compounds cures cancer? We don't know. We don't know. In fact, it possibly cures Alzheimer's and degenerative brain diseases. So Ronald Reagan, he was against marijuana because, he said something about when you're drunk, you could tell if a person's drunk, but if they're high, you can't tell if they're high. And then everybody said that was such a great answer, right? Just the Republicans clapped like a bunch of maniacs as if he said the greatest answer in the world. But really, Alzheimer's and degenerative brain diseases, if Ronald Reagan had been given hemp oil, he wouldn't have had these problems, and he wouldn't have turned into, a man with mash for a brain. And so that's, the people who actually love Ronald Reagan should have allowed him to get hemp oil so he would have been cured of his Alzheimer's. There's just so many things. There's so many possibilities. There's like 30 different ailments that medical marijuana is positive, that it helps them in a positive manner. Why would you limit medical marijuana from ever being legalized, ever, for anybody? How big of an asshole do you got to be to know that there's medicinal properties to this plant and you're stopping it just so people could die from cancer? Like, you're creating martyrs. That's all you're doing. You're creating martyrs for people. And it's ridiculous. U.S. patent number 6630507 talks about cannabinoids. So U.S. has already patented it. They already know about it. So, you know, they have known about it for a long time. They have a patent on it, and they want to make sure, you know, that they own it. So basically, they have a war on drugs where they're fighting it. But if it turns out to cure a whole bunch of cancer, they're going to take credit for it and charge everybody for that medicine. That medicine should be free for everybody. And is that the drug companies? The drug companies are holding it so that way nobody gets a hold of it? It's ridiculous, okay? Marijuana's active ingredients hold promise for preventing, even reversing brain aging and possibly Alzheimer's and other degenerative brain diseases. So he went and got Alzheimer's, Ronald Reagan wouldn't it? Since the mid-2000s, researchers have been building appreciation for the powers of marijuana-like substances and make up the brain's cannabinoid systems. In animal experiments, synthetic compounds similar to THC, marijuana, and hemp's main psychoactive component have shown promise in preserving brain functions. 2008 study even demonstrated that a THC-like substance reduced brain inflammation and improved memory in older rats. So, I'm going to stop it there.